June 6, 1944. The largest amphibious invasion in human history. 150,000 Allied soldiers crossing the English Channel toward the beaches of Normandy. Thousands of ships, thousands of aircraft, years of planning. Almost everyone knows about D-Day. Almost no one knows about the man who made it possible. He wasn't a general, he wasn't a soldier. He was a Spanish chicken farmer with no military training, no intelligence experience, and no official status with any Allied organization. And working alone from a small apartment in London with nothing but a map, a pencil, and an extraordinary imagination, he pulled off the greatest deception operation in the history of warfare. His name was Juan Pujol García, and Hitler believed every word he said.
Juan Pujol García was born in Barcelona 1912. By the time World War II began, he had seen enough of fascism to know exactly which side he was on. He had lived through the Spanish Civil War. He had watched what happened when extremists took power. He despised both the Nazis and the Soviets with equal intensity. And when Germany invaded Western Europe in 1940, he made a decision that most people would have considered either heroic or insane. He decided to personally help defeat Hitler. The problem was that nobody wanted his help. Pujol approached British intelligence in 1940 and 1941, offering to become a spy. He had no training, no contacts, no particular skills that any intelligence service would find useful on paper. The British turned him down twice. So Pujol did something extraordinary.
He decided to approach the Germans instead, not because he wanted to help them, but because he understood something very clearly. The only way to become a useful British spy was to first become a German spy. If he could get the Germans to trust him, to pay him, to believe his information, then he would have something genuinely valuable to offer the British. He invented a fake identity. He told the Germans he was a Spanish government official with access to high-level information and a network of contacts across Britain. He had never been to Britain in his life. The Germans believed him. They recruited him. They gave him money, a code name, and instructions. His code name was Alaric. The British, when they eventually discovered what he had done entirely on his own initiative, were astonished. They immediately brought him to London, gave him the code name Garbo, after Greta Garbo, because they said he was the best actor they had ever seen, and put him at the center of the most ambitious deception plan of the entire war.
By 1943, Allied planners had a problem that kept them awake at night. Everyone, including the Germans, knew that an invasion of Western Europe was coming. The question wasn't if, the question was where. And the Germans had a very good answer. Pas de Calais, the narrowest point of the English Channel, the most logical landing site, the shortest crossing, the closest point to Germany. Every military planner in Berlin looked at the map and reached the same conclusion. The invasion would come at Pas de Calais. They were right. And then the Allies decided to change their minds for them. Operation Fortitude was the most elaborate deception plan in military history. Its goal was simple: convince Hitler that the main Allied invasion would land at Pas de Calais, while the real attack went into Normandy, 200 miles to the southwest. To make it work, the Allies needed the Germans to believe something simultaneously. They needed them to believe that a massive army, the fictitious 1st United States Army Group with Patton in command, was massing in southeast England directly across from Pas de Calais. Fake radio traffic, inflatable tanks, cardboard aircraft, an entire army that existed only on paper and in German intelligence reports. And they needed the Germans to keep believing it even after the Normandy landings began, to hold their best forces in reserve, waiting for the real invasion that would never come.
For that, they needed Garbo. Pujol had spent 2 years building an entirely fictional network of agents across Britain. 27 imaginary spies, each with their own background, personality, area of operation, and style of reporting. He wrote their reports himself, inventing details, cross-referencing their fictional observations, creating the impression of a vast intelligence network feeding information back to Berlin. The Germans trusted him completely. They paid him. They decorated him. At one point, the head of German intelligence personally praised Alaric as their most valuable asset in Britain. He was feeding them pure fiction. And now, in the spring of 1944, Pujol and his British handlers crafted the message that everything had been building toward. Through his network of imaginary agents, through carefully constructed reports that mixed real details with strategic lies, Pujol began painting a picture for Berlin. Normandy, his agents reported, was a diversionary attack, a feint designed to draw German reserves away from the real target. The true invasion, the massive, decisive blow, would come at Pas de Calais, soon, with Patton leading it. Berlin listened. Berlin believed.
June 6, 1944, 3 a.m. Pujol sends an urgent message to his German handlers. He has critical intelligence. His agents have reported unusual movement. Something big is happening along the southern English coast. He needs to speak with Berlin immediately. The Germans receive the message, but it arrives too late for them to act on it. By the time Berlin processes the report, Allied paratroopers are already landing in Normandy. By the time German commanders reach their phones, the naval bombardment has begun. By the time Hitler is woken, his staff, terrified of his reaction, waited hours before disturbing him. The first waves of Allied soldiers are already on the beaches. The invasion has begun. And now, in the hours and days that follow, the most critical phase of the entire deception plays out. German commanders in France have 2 panzer divisions, the 12th SS and the Panzer Lehr, positioned close enough to Normandy to reach the beaches within hours. If those divisions attack on June 6th, while the Allied beachhead is still fragile, still shallow, still desperately vulnerable, the outcome of D-Day becomes very uncertain. The orders to release those divisions have to come from Hitler personally. Hitler hesitates because Garbo's message is already making its way through German intelligence channels, and what it says is exactly what Hitler already believes. Normandy is not the real invasion.
Normandy is the feint. The real blow is still coming, at Pas de Calais, with Patton, any day now. To commit the panzer reserves to Normandy, to send them racing toward the beaches, would be to fall into exactly the trap the Allies have set. It would strip the defenses at Pas de Calais precisely when the real attack is about to land. Hitler holds the panzers back. He waits for Patton. Patton never comes. But the damage is done in those critical first hours and days. The Allied beachhead deepens, reinforcements pour ashore. The window during which German armor could have driven the invasion back into the sea closes, slowly, then permanently. 2 weeks after D-Day, Garbo sends another message to Berlin. His agents, he reports, have now confirmed what he suspected. The Normandy operation is larger than initially assessed. It appears the main Allied effort may indeed be focused there rather than at Pas de Calais. It is the perfect final touch, Garbo admitting he was wrong, in a way that makes everything he has said before seem even more credible, even more genuine. The Germans believe him to the end. They never suspected. And on July 29, 1944, while Allied forces were breaking out of Normandy and beginning the drive that would liberate France, the German High Command awarded Juan Pujol García the Iron Cross for his outstanding service to the Third Reich. He accepted it. 4 days earlier, King George VI had awarded him the Member of the Order of the British Empire. Juan Pujol García is the only person in the Second World War to have been decorated by both sides.
Juan Pujol García survived the war. After it ended, fearing Nazi reprisals, he faked his own death, officially dying of malaria in Angola in 1949. He moved to Venezuela under a new identity and spent decades living quietly, anonymously, in a small town, working in a bookshop. The world had no idea he existed.
It wasn't until 1984, 40 years after D-Day, that his story became public. He traveled to Normandy for the commemorations. He stood on the beaches where 15,000 men had landed on that June morning, beaches that existed as a functioning beachhead, partly because of what he had done alone in a London apartment. He died in 1988. No Hollywood film, no monument, no street named after him. Just a quiet man who decided that one person could make a difference, and then proved it. The historians who have studied Operation Fortitude in the decades since are largely in agreement on one point. Without Garbo, D-Day might still have succeeded. The Allied military machine was powerful enough, the planning thorough enough, the soldiers brave enough that the beaches might have been held regardless. But the cost would have been catastrophic. Those panzer divisions held back from Normandy on Hitler's orders because he was waiting for Patton, because he believed Garbo represented thousands of lives, possibly tens of thousands, possibly the difference between a beachhead that held and one that didn't. One man, 27 imaginary spies, and the most important lie ever told.
If this story surprised you, share it. Leave a comment with what you think was the most brilliant part of Garbo's deception. And subscribe. Every week we bring you the real stories of World War II, the ones that never make it into the history books. The next video is already coming. Don't miss it.